We feel great about the quarter, the strength in the top line, frankly, in the U.S. segment, and ultimately the flow through to adjusted EBITDA, the enduring strength in the business. So, we feel like we're on very solid ground right now.
We saw earlier, and even earlier this week as well, from companies such as Meta Platforms, but mostly Microsoft, and then, of course, with the GDP figure, that companies and people are pulling purchases forward. I'm curious what you saw on the platform over the last month in terms of what customers are buying, how they're buying it, and how that behavior has maybe changed.
Yeah, it's a great question. We shared on the call this morning, there's one category where we have seen some pull forward of demand, and that's in appliances. So, we don't do a large business in appliances. We got into that business a few years ago, but that category, we have seen what we would call, a pull forward of demand. We actually have not seen a pull forward of demand in sort of the core furniture part of the business. We look at this on a variety of different metrics around, search volumes, traffic, conversion, et cetera. And from everything that we're seeing, over the past month, to your question, we've not really seen any discernible pull forward on the furniture business, really just on the appliance part. And the appliance part is a very small part of our business in total. And obviously, the last month that you're referring to, would be post the quarter that we posted this morning, which ended on March 31st.
Is that lack of pull forward a sign at all to you of a lack of confidence that the consumer has in their situation right now? Is it concerning to you? These are obviously big purchases. We're talking furniture here. If consumers don't feel comfortable buying those, then they might not buy.
Yeah, great question. So, first, our average AOV is about $300, right? So we sell a range of products and the average ticket size of about $300. We did say actually the demand had been quite healthy in April quarter to date period. And so we feel very good about where demand is. I do want to point out that our category, we're hearing a lot of noise in the consumer, and certainly something that we're following very closely and, monitoring quite thoughtfully. But we are in our category, we've been in a position where our category has actually been down for multiple years in a row. At various points from sort of back half of 21 to current, our category has been down double digits during some of that time. Over this last quarter, we still saw the category under pressure in the US. So we're talking about a category, that has had actually sort of a negative consumer impact for some time after obviously a big pull forward in the beginning of COVID.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly. Right. COVID was crazy, right? I'm assuming we all talked about everybody doing, buying for their home because they were living, working, doing everything in their home. Does the environment feel, after a couple of years of things being pulled back, does it feel more normal? How do you describe today's environment? Especially, Kate, when we talk to so many leaders and heads of companies where, they're using the word uncertainty. You've got, as Tim mentioned, companies giving out dual earnings outlooks depending on what happens out of the White House and in terms of tariffs. So I'm just curious how you would kind of describe it.
Yeah, it's a great question. So maybe to start with our category and some of the evolution of our category over this period. To your point, we had significant pull forward in the category in the COVID time, right? So in the sort of 2020, 2021 time. Since then, the category has been down consistently since then. And actually, when we look at the data, if you were to take a normalized growth rate from 2019 to now, typically is a category that grows somewhere on the order of 3 to 4% a year. If you were to sort of straight line that out, we're quite a bit below where the trend line is. We actually think on a basis or on a sort of total sales basis for the category itself is actually below, starting to be below 2019 levels, right? So we're seeing a category that has historically been over the last few years quite depressed, which may be different than some of the other consumer discretionary categories that folks are referring to. That said, yes, it's absolutely an uncertain environment. This category, well, it's not down as much as it was in sort of 22, 23. It was still down last quarter. So our focus then becomes on share gain, right? So if the category is uncertain, if the overall consumer environment is uncertain, what we want to do is make sure that we're gaining share. We've done that consistently every quarter since the fourth quarter of 2022, and that we're doing that in a very cost-disciplined way. And that's where you've seen us grow our margins and adjusted EBITDA dollars throughout that period as well. So, certainly there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of uncertainty. Within that, we're trying to control what we can control. And to us, that results in share gain and, EBITDA growth.